Hey guys, welcome back. This time we're going to add some more detail to what we built in the previous video. The first thing I want to do is look at creating some edge thickness around all of our pattern pieces. I need to actually do this in Photoshop because I can't figure out the best way to do this completely in Blender. So just to explain, what I'm going to do is take the texture maps that I had from CLO3D, so these are just my base textures that I exported. And I'm going to open all this in Photoshop and create some edge select maps that we can bring into this to work with to add some thickness into the construction of the denim. So if we go into Photoshop, I've got here each of my Udin tiles. They're just the base textures right now. And I'm going to record an action so I can just repeat this really quickly across the rest of my things and I don't have to repeat this process. So to do this, just go ensure you've got your action visible. So next to history, you've got actions. If you don't see it, go to Windows and turn actions on. Click the plus button and you'll get a new action window and just call this edge select and click record. So now all the steps that we go through are going to be recorded. So if I start off by pressing Ctrl and L on the keyboard to bring up levels, I'm just going to drag the black all the way down to the right so that we've now got a completely black UV right here. Control Shift and N on the keyboard is going to add a new layer, so I'm just going to click OK. And then I'm going to press G to work with the paint bucket tool on the side here. So if your gradient comes up, just select paint bucket tool. And I'm going to add a black layer. I'm going to drop this black layer behind my UVs so that my UVs are on top in the layer palette here. And then I'm going to duplicate this layer that is on top and click OK. I've now got two on top of each other, and the second one I'm just going to invert with Control and I so that this is now white and the one on top is black. And the layer on top, just select this, go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and just add a little bit of blur here till we start to kind of select the edges. We get this white little shadow around the edges of everything. Don't go too far. About here is enough. Then we're going to join these layers. So choose both of the UV layers and leave the background alone. Merge these layers, press Ctrl and L on the keyboard to bring up levels and just push the white level down a little bit. And then we'll just blur this one more time so that the edge is a lot softer. Maybe too soft there, about 9. And then just levels one more time to push the white value back up again. So now we've kind of selected the edges of our UVs and we can use this to add thickness in Blender. So go back to actions and press stop. So now all those steps that we've just ran through are recorded under this action here. So go to your next Udin tile and just simply select the action we made and press play. And now those same settings have been applied to this one, and do the same for the last one. Press play. So now this is our UV edge select, and we can just save these as PNG and call this, I'll just call this UV edge. You need to make sure that you keep the 1, 0, 0, 1 and 2 and etc. at the end so that this gets read as Udin tiles. So we're just going to save each of these as a PNG. And the same, the last one here. And what we're going to do with this, if you don't know, I will explain now. So we've got these three all saved out. Let's go back here and look at our bump. So right now the bump is being used to make a bump in the top stitches, but we want to have a bump for the thickness as well. So let's go to our project files down here. Where am I? Right, the project files here. And I'm just going to take this UV edge select that I've done and drop this over here. Set this from single image to UDIM. And if I do Control Shift and left click on this, we can see what's going on here. So now all the edges of our pattern pieces are basically selected in white. So we can use this to add into the bump. I'm going to bring this higher up in the normal window. Just bring it to the top. And we're going to blend this in with this line right here. So I'm going to press Shift and A to search for a mix. So whatever's going into our bump, we want to mix with that. We want to mix a color. And we want to take the UV edge select and just put this in as well. So this just disconnected itself. Let's go back. So search for a mix color and drop that here. Bring our edge select in the top and let's see how this blend is going to look. So now we've got top stitching and we've got the UV border select as well. So let's look at the bump. This is probably going to be too intense. So again, Control Shift left click just to view the shader. And this is quite strong. So within this mix here, we can look at how this is working. So all the way to the top is the full border select and all the way to the side is just the top stitches. So I'm just going to drag this down to reduce the intensity of this edge here. And if we add a ramp, so Shift and A and search for a ramp and put the ramp after our edge select, we can increase and decrease the thickness of this right here. So I'm just going to bring this down a bit to about there. And then let's look at our material. So if you see what we're getting now, let's look at it in shaded in render view, is we have this kind of seam impression all around our the edges of anything that has thickness. So where the fabric's folded back and stitched, it's now got some thickness on it, but maybe this is too much. Maybe we need to bring the strength down a little. About there should do. We've still got an impression from our stitches that's visible, and we've still got this thickness and everything from the puckering. We've just now added in some thickness around the side. Okay. So next thing that we want to do is start to add in some more details into the wash of this. For now, I'm just going to look at this edge wear and just decrease a little bit this edge wear that we've created in the last video here. We're going to add in some more wash details, and to do this we're going to work in this color space in the top. So I'm just going to move the normal map down a bit, the normal and bump frame here down, and just move this one off to the side a bit as well, so we have some space in the bottom. And we're just going to keep doing what we've done here. We've got a mix going to a mix going to a mix, and we're just going to add more and more mixes with more and more things attached to them. So let's look at this in texture shaded view. I'm not looking at in cycles view just because it's quicker and it's less intense on the computer. So first let's look for a noise texture and add this here, and then copy this mix. So press Shift and D to duplicate it. Take the output of this mix by pressing Control. So press Control and click and drag this to our new mix. Take this output and put it into A, and take your noise texture output and put it into B. So now our noise texture is being mixed with the base material that we started to build up. What we want to do though is change this to overlay. And we are now getting this additional color laid over our denim. So the point is now, instead of having this rainbow noise here, this effect, we're going to press Shift and A and search again for a ramp. Lots of color ramps here. And let's look just at the output of this. So Control Shift and left click on color. Let's increase the scale, increase the detail. The detail you will see close up. This is detailed and roughness. bit more scale. Bring the black slider down a bit. And push the white one up to get some highlights and lowlights, and change the black to blue, like a light kind of blue color. Right. So now this can be one wash. We're going to layer a second one on top of this. So let's look at the output of this instead of just the ramp. So Control Shift left click here. This is how our blend is looking. It's quite intense, maybe just a little bit we want. And this is currently called Edgeware, so I'm just going to press N on the keyboard and change the label of this to Wash 1. And then we're just going to duplicate this setup. So all three of these nodes here, we want 3 more to just blend out after this. So Shift and D to duplicate them and just place them next to it. If we look at the output of this noise here, let's change the scale so it's bigger. And bring the detail down a bit so it's a bit more soft. And bring the roughness down as well. Let's change this blue to a bit more of like a different tone of blue. And then bring this output into A, and then bring this result into base color, and then let's press Control Shift and left click to look at the result of this one. So now if I bring this one up and down, we get some darker areas and some lighter areas still. But we're building up some wash details on this now. Play around with your ramps that you've used to get like a nice washed effect here. But yeah, this is how we're going to add some heathering to the surface of this fabric. The next thing that we can do is add in some wrinkling, and we're going to do that in the same way by using these blends, and we're going to do it with the normal map. So what we've got is our base normal here, which is our puckering. We've got this one here, which is our denim fabric, and we want to add in another one now that is going to be our wrinkling, and that will be found. I just need to look for a wrinkle. Okay, so I've got these wrinkle normal maps. I can share these with you guys in the comments. I'm just going to grab one and drop it into my node space and drop it into my normal map frame. Change the color space to non-color, which it already is, great. And then duplicate this blend and this normal map node, press Shift and D to duplicate them. Move this normal map down, feed the top one into A so this blends into this one, and then plug this one back into this the bump node here, and connect this normal map. And let's make sure we're looking at the output of the entire shader, so Control Shift left click this output here, and we're looking at the shader now. And we should be able to see, if I turn this up and down, we can see some wrinkles going on and off. The thing is, they're few and they're far between. So let's take this leather wrinkles node here and press Control and T. And we've got now a mapping, so just drag these inside your frame again, move them to the side, and put 3 in X and 3 in Y. And now we've got some more wrinkles throughout this, the look of this. So again, this will be visible when we use the normal strength here. And this can be used to control as well. If we look at this in shaded view, it might be a lot more obvious. Yeah. So this wrinkling is really, really strong here. So let's bring this down to 2. And let's maybe even look at rotating the direction. Yeah, so now they're going more vertically. Great. Now we've added some wrinkles. The edgeware is set up, and we've done the base, added into the base color into the wash here. What we could do is kind of pick out this twill construction more, so the way that this fabric's woven, and add a shadow into this as well. So to do that, we're going to work with this node here, which is the Denim Normal Map. And this will be really easy to do. We can just blend it into the bottom here. So take this ramp and this blend from the last section of our base color and press Shift and D to duplicate them. Then blend, add this mix. The output of this one we're going to put into base color, and the output of the previous one we're going to put into slot A. And then where we've got this ramp now, connect to this ramp your denim surface normal map. So the one that we took out of color with the weave of the fabric in it. Connect that over here, and then let's just look at this by itself. So now Control Shift left click. We can set this to not so blue. We can make this darker, and just pick out a shadow. Like push down on this a little bit and push this back the white side up to bring the shadow out. And let's see how this is looking in our base material. So it might be a subtle visibility, like this is off and there's no definition here, and this is completely on and there's more definition. Try multiply. Nope. Overlay seems to be the best way here. So add this all the way. Adjust the ramp a little bit if we need to. But now we've added like a little bit of extra definition into the weave of this fabric. And if I go back and view the shader, this is starting to look like some nice washed denim. The next thing that would be nice to do is to add some of this puckering into the base material. So we've got highlights in the puckering and shadows, but this isn't really visible too well in our base material right now. Like if we just look at this color, this is just the diffuse color. So we've got the normal map here, and we want to just continue to do the same thing. We want to blend more and more things together using these mix nodes and using these ramps to change the color. So I'm just going to drag this up a bit and drag these to the side so we've got even more space. I'm going to take, this is not called what, this is wash 2, so I'll name this wash 2. This one is twill shadow. And then the next one is going to be the highlights and lowlights of our puckering. And to do this, I'm going to blend those things together first and then add this over here. So what I mean by that is I need 2 ramps going into the same mix. So just connect 2 ramps to a mix and just have them disconnected for now. And then into these 2 ramps, we're going to connect our puckering. So this one is the puckering. Take the color and add it to the factor of this one, and take the color and add it to the factor of this one. So let's just look at these individually. This needs to be black. And we're going to just pull out some of the shadows here and some of the highlights and kind of have a mid-gray. And then this one, we're going to try to pull out some of the highlights. Okay. And now when they're blended together, if we do add, this is kind of what we're getting. What might be nice at this point is to actually add another ramp after these 2 to control more the color. So let's do 2 more ramps. Bring them kind of back to the start, but change the black to blue. Same for this one. Bring this up and change this to blue as well. And then let's look at mixing this mix with this mix. So instead of right, let's just mix these guys together. So let's put these next to each other, duplicate this, connect to you guys, and put you into base color. And do overlay. We want the fabric on the top and the twill on the bottom. And if we look at this now we're getting a little bit of highlighting and shadowing in this base color. But I think we can improve that with these sliders here. So let's just push these up and down a bit. Until we get some nice shadows and highlights within these seams. This is quite intense now, the amount that we've got, but this can all be controlled by this factor right here. So the lower down we bring this, the less it's going to be visible, and the higher up we bring it, the more it's going to be visible. Let's just look at the output of this. See if we can make it any whiter. Let's leave it like this. So now we're bringing some of that puckering details into our base color. And if I look at the shader now, this is starting to look like a really nice wash denim fabric. The last thing that would be nice to do at this point is just add in some hue saturation nodes at the end of this in order to be able to better control this base color. So I'm going to search for a hue, and I'm going to search for a brightness and contrast. And the best thing to do is look at just the color output here. So saturation, if we push this up, we're going to get a much more washed out, much stronger look in the denim, and the more saturated, the more washed out it's going to be. The value will make it lighter and darker. So maybe we push the value up a little. And the hue will change the color, the hue of this blue. So let's leave that as it is almost. And the brightness and contrast. These are really sensitive. So if you hold shift down as you kind of click and drag in this box, it will make it easier to adjust. But what can help is if you press shift and A and search for a math and set this to divide, and then set the bottom value to 100, connect this to brightness, and then now you'll have like a much easier to work with slider. So let's push the brightness up a little bit and do the same for contrast. So just duplicate that and connect it to contrast, and maybe push the contrast up a little bit. So these controls now, the let's name this one brightness and name this one contrast. With the brightness, contrast, hue, saturation, and everything now, we can really control the final result of the color that's being that's going on here. The edge wear still looks quite strong. Let's bring that down a little bit. Yeah. Okay, so this is starting to look really washed and like a worn out denim now, so that's good. In the next video, we're going to look at using some custom paint layers to fix some of the issues in this ambient occlusion mask, and then to look at having a different texture on the back of the fabric as opposed to the front of the fabric. And then we're going to finish it all off with the roughness and metallic controls, and then this shader is going to be done. So I will see you guys in the next video.